Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Steel City Sports Report, where we talk everything Steelers, Penguins, and Pirates. I am your host, Brady Vini. How's it going, good people? Gonna be honest, a little bit tired today, staying up a little late last night, watching that baseball game, and coming into the show here tonight, I thought, it was going to be a tad bit somber. We were going to be a little bummed out about Team USA losing the World Baseball Classic, and the Penguins tonight, they play against the Carolina Hurricanes. They go into that house of horrors down there in Raleigh where they never win anymore. But then something happened today, and it gave us all a little bit of hope, not just for the Penguins, but it brightened our mood overall. That being this guy right here on my chest, this goat with the number 87 on it. He is back, ladies and gentlemen. Sidney Crosby makes his return tonight for the first time since before the Olympics for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Of course, Sid goes over there to Milan. He gets injured by that piece of garbage, Radko Gudas. Sid out 4 weeks exactly to today, and today on the 4-week anniversary of suffering that injury, he returns to the Pittsburgh Penguins this evening. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk a little bit briefly, since the last time we spoke, the Pens, they played the Colorado Avalanche back on Monday night. How well that game went for the Pens, we will mention as well. After that, we will then talk a little bit about USA baseball and them losing, Paul Skeens and the boys taking home second place in that tournament. Who's to blame, who's not to blame. We'll break down all of that. And then in the extra Pittsburgh sports news, most of it surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers. I put the Steelers, all the news on them today in the extra Pittsburgh sports news because there's so much going on in that world. You can't just narrow it down to one specific segment. So we'll talk about the Steelers. They were visiting a pro day today, not the one that you would, common sense think that they were at, who all they were possibly looking at today. We'll talk about. They had a few more pre-draft visits and one more lined up coming up here. We'll talk about those free agency moves, a trade or two that happened that could affect the Steelers, all of that and much more around the Steelers and everything else. We will talk about a bunch here in the show this evening. But before we do any of that, talking about everything 412, if you are new here, welcome to the Steel City Sports Report. On your way in, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so that you never miss a thing here on the channel again. Also, would love it if you like this live stream, share this live stream, and if you go to the comments section, any thoughts, questions, or opinions that you may have here tonight, please feel free to get those in the comments section. To the comments section, we go to start here tonight. Concepts here. I bet, talking about the Steelers, I bet since we're at Georgia, I see their punter Brett Thorson won the 2025 Ray Guy Award for top punter. His injury late in the 2025 season may help him fall to the Steelers at pick 21. We can only hope. Of course, Concepts, punter, the very first priority in this draft that the Steelers must address. We all know that they brought back Cam Johnston and they lost Cortlis Waitman. They let him walk to San Francisco, but hey, can never have too many punters on the roster. Definitely worth the 21st overall pick there, Mr. Brett Thorson. We'll talk about the Steelers a little bit later on in the show. Also, I would appreciate it tonight if you would subscribe, like, share what I just said, but also go give the channel a follow at Steel City SR on Facebook, Instagram, and X, and tune back in not too long, hopefully, after the show is done here tonight. Was working on SCSR 60 before we went live. That was, kind of why we were a little bit late going live here tonight behind 5:30. Hopefully SCSR 60 will be out not too long after the live stream here tonight. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we got around an hour and 20 minutes before puck drop in the Penguins and Hurricanes. I really want to watch that game, and I'm sure you all really want to watch that game out there as well, because this is where we begin here tonight. Sidney Crosby is back, ladies and gentlemen. He returns tonight for the Pittsburgh Penguins for the first time in 11 games for the Pens, and for the first time 4 weeks to the day since he got injured in the Olympics by Radko Gudas, the former Philadelphia Flyer, who nobody seems to really like anymore. Crosby officially taken off of IR today by the Penguins. He will suit up tonight against the Carolina Hurricanes. And Sid, the news of Sid coming back, actually it was broken by his family member, really, in his words here. Evgeny Malkin, he is the one that broke the news that Sid will be making a return as soon as the morning skate was done today. Malkin comes off the ice. He walks past all of the media people, and he chants, "Guys, he's back. Crosby's back," like a little kid. Or I guess like, who was it? Revere, who said, "The British are coming, the British are coming." Malkin down the tunnel, "Crosby's coming back, Crosby's coming back." So Gino, very excited. I'm sure the entire team and fan base, including myself of the Pittsburgh Penguins, is excited for Crosby to come back. Like I said, 11 games missed with a lower body injury for Crosby. And it honestly couldn't come at a better time for Sid, if we're being real here. We are exactly not only 4 weeks to the day from when Crosby suffered this injury, we are also exactly 4 weeks away from the Stanley Cup playoffs beginning. You have 15 games left on the schedule for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Thankfully, they were able to hold down the fort while Crosby was injured, but now they get Sid back, and with 15 games to go, you still have 16 playoff spots around the National Hockey League yet to be clinched. The playoff line, 1 point or less, is in both conferences right now in terms of wild cards. 22 teams are in a playoff spot, and they have 5 points. 22 teams are in a playoff spot or are within 5 points of a playoff spot. So Crosby, getting him back in this, tightly contested race and push to the playoffs, it is absolutely crazy and imperative that Sid comes back here tonight. It's almost like a trade deadline acquisition. It gives you a different perspective on Kyle Dubas, standing pat for the most part at the trade deadline, only making that one move on deadline day. So getting Sid back, your leading goal scorer, your leading point scorer, even with him missing 11 games, that is huge here tonight. And maybe it brings a little bit of peace back to this lineup. Ever since Sid went down, the lineups got, thrown into a blender a little bit, even more so with Evgeny Malkin serving that 5-game suspension and him returning 2 nights ago. So Sid back, hopefully it, puts everybody at ease a little bit. Nobody needs to go out and say, "I got to be Superman here tonight to get us a win." Everybody with the top guy now back, hit Sid and Gino, another game back tonight as well. Everybody can settle back into their, sort of niche roles that they have been in for most of the season and that they have excelled in for most of the season as well. So good stuff getting Sid back here today, activated from injured reserve. He, of course, immediately slotted back in at top line center, centering Rickard Rakell and Brian Rust. Then the lines behind him, for the most part, back to normal. Evgeny Malkin, Tommy Novak, Igor Chinikov, they remain together. Ben Kindle gets his 2 big bodyguards back in Justin Brazo and Anthony Mantha. And the fourth line, ladies and gentlemen, once again tonight will be Connor Dewar centering Noel Acciari and the big guy, 6'8", glue guy, Elmer Soderblom. No Blake Lizotte again tonight, and we will be without Lizotte for a while. The Pittsburgh Penguins. Lizotte today, I believe, was placed on injured reserve even more. I think Lizotte's going to miss the next 4 weeks with an upper body injury. We know what that upper body injury is, by the way. Josh Yohe, who covers the Pens, said that he saw Lizotte in a cast on his right hand yesterday. So Lizotte, I expect every single bit of those 4 weeks for him to be out. But hey, at least the Pens, hopefully with Sid back, I'll take the exchange, the change up of losing Lizotte, but getting Crosby back. Hopefully Lizotte ends up getting healthy, and he'll be back for the first round of playoffs. Sid also today back on the first power play unit, according to line rushes in this morning's skate. Carlson, Crosby, Malkin, Rust, and Rakell, the top unit, back together. Letang, Chinikov, Novak, Mantha, and Ben Kindle is the second unit. Crosby also be pretty crazy that if he were to break this record tonight, but no doubt he could do it within the next 4 to 5 games. Crosby returning to the lineup tonight. He is 10 points away from passing Steve Yzerman in the NHL's 7th place for all-time points. So Crosby 10 points away from breaking Steve Yzerman's record. Hopefully he gets off to a good start, kind of like what Evgeny Malkin did 2 nights ago, against the Colorado Avalanche. That's the second part about what I want to talk about. The Pens here tonight. Since we last spoke in this way, the Pens, they had a 9:30 puck drop game back on Monday against the Colorado Avalanche. And the Pens, just like they're going to get back Sid tonight, they got a big boost back into their lineup. Malkin served his 5-game suspension. He returned to the lineup, and, still tough task, tough draw for the Penguins, facing the Avalanche, only the best team in hockey. No sort of exaggeration right there. Down Sid going up against the Avs, wondering what it was going to be like for the Pens, was definitely not what indeed did happen. You had Malkin, typical Gino, first shift back into the game. He takes an offensive zone penalty, but when Malkin comes out of the box 3 minutes into the hockey game, the Pens get the kill, and Malkin, a vintage spinorama backhand goal from the top of the circle. Malkin still showing that he's got his signature move still hanging around in his pocket, so that was awesome to see there from Gino. Colorado in the first period of that game Monday night, they responded. Nathan McKinnon off of a Marty Natchez pass, rifled one past Artur Shilov's. Anthony Mantha shortly after, he made himself go in on a breakaway. He deked out Scott Wedgwood, the goaltender, and slid it through the 5-hole to make it 2-1. That was 3 goals in the first 4 minutes and 23 seconds of the game. Insane, fast-paced start. That was also on Monday Mantha's 26th goal of the year, a new career high for him. Just one of those crazy good acquisitions for Kyle Dubas from this past offseason. More to go in the first period. Evgeny Malkin again made an impact. Malkin outskated his defender, Igor Chinakhov, as well. Became a 2-on-1, then a breakaway for Gino. He deked out Wedgwood just like Mantha, made it 3-1. Colorado ended up pulling Wedgwood. I think he surrendered 3 goals on 4 or 5 shots. So they bring in the new goaltender, that being Mackenzie Blackwood. Nothing he could do either. Elmer Soderblom was able to tap home his first goal as a Pittsburgh Penguin shortly after, made it 4 goals on 6 shots for the Pens. And then that finally brought an end to the first period back on Monday, 4-2. After 1 period of play, the Avalanche got another goal late in the period after they changed goaltenders. Shots in that period were 18-7 in favor of the Avalanche, but Artur Shilov's standing on his head at one end of the ice, and the Pens making most of their opportunities at the other. On to the second period, Erik Karlsson, who's been having a phenomenal season, and especially the past, 4 weeks with Crosby out, Karlsson has been one of those guys that you can clearly see elevated his game. He got a goal on the board, shot from the boards, had eyes, got past Mackenzie Blackwood, made it 14 points in 10 games for Karlsson, 3 goals and 11 assists. Avalanche got in penalty trouble later on in the period. Too many men penalty puts the Pens on the power play. Ricard Raquel to Evgeny Malkin. Then Brian Rust gets sprung on a breakaway after the long stretch pass in the neutral zone. 6-2 Penguins. Rust on the power play. Breakaway buries it. Onto the third period. Artur Shilov's denies any sort of comeback opportunity for the Avalanche early on. Makes a nice glove save. Noel Acciari, off of a spinorama pass from Elmer Soderblom, added on another for good measure. The Pens beating down the Avalanche on the scoreboard, ended up turning to beating down the Avalanche on the ice, literally. The Avs, with the game clearly decided, wanted to get after Evgeny Malkin. Connor Clifton, Parker Wotherspoon steps in. Clifton drops the gloves and absolutely love his game. He is turning into a fan favorite overnight. Clifton whoops up the ass of Jack Drury. Pens absolute beatdown, just like everybody thought. No Crosby, no couple other guys, Blake Lizotte, who just went down for this game as well. They get Malkin back, but they go in out to the West Coast, take on the Avalanche, and they beat down the best team in hockey so far this season. 7-2, the final score. Insane production and step up over the past, few games, this road trip for the Pens. looked on paper like it was going to be a road trip from hell. And tonight it wraps up in Raleigh. But guys, you've clearly seen make a mark for this team without Crosby. Malkin elevating his game. First game back has 4 points. Erik Karlsson showing off his hockey IQ and why he was a Norris Trophy winning defenseman. All the new guys stepping up again. Igor Chinikov, he continues to be hot since getting in a Pens uniform. 22 points in 29 games. Mantha making an impact. Justin Brazeau, his first few games back, he's been noticeable out there. Tommy Novak, Ben Kindle, the Pens, new additions from this season, 81 goals from new players on teams in 2025-26, by far most in the NHL. The next team, I believe it has 63 goals from new players. So the Pens right now, they are humming. The new guys and some of the guys that needed to step up, the other stars, Malkin, Karlsson, they did exactly that. And now the Pens tonight looking to wrap up this road trip that they went 2-1-1 on without Crosby. They're going to add Sid back to the lineup tonight, hopefully go in there, exercise some demons down in Raleigh, North Carolina, and come back to Pittsburgh after a tough 5-game road trip, 3-1-1. We shall see. One last thing I want to mention on the Pens. You talk about the players and, who stepped up, who is making an impact, just being a new guy to the team this year, how tough this team is to play against on a night in, night out basis. One guy that I really want to give a shout out to here that, I don't think gets enough recognition in this whole thing, Dan Muse, Penguins head coach. We remember going back to the summer, Pens hire this guy. Nobody knew who he was. He wasn't, one of the super favorites for the job, like some other coaches. And Muse comes in here as a developmental guy. We thought, great, this, rebuild season for the Pens is going to be exactly that. Maybe we see some improvement from young guys, but it's going to be another crappy season. Anything but that for the Penguins, because now 67 games through the year, Dan Muse has the Penguins at the exact same win total that they had last year with 15 games to go. 34 wins for the Pens so far this season. At this point, the Pens overall last year, all 82 games, 34 wins. So the Pens already winning more than what they did last year. They have seen an improve and a spike in regulation wins. They have 5 more of those compared to last year. They have 3 more points compared to all of last year. Point percentage up to 619 from 488 compared to all of last year. Goals for per game, Pens this year, 342 goals for, much improved already this season from 295 from last year. Goals against is down compared to last year. The Penguins overall, just a so much better team than what they were this time last year. So good stuff from Dan Muse. Hopefully the Pens continue this. Like I said, 15 games left on the schedule. It'll be 14 after tonight's game in Carolina. The Pens looking to wrap up this road trip on a high note, especially getting good old 87 back in the lineup. Your thoughts on the Penguins? What you guys think is going to happen tonight? Pens, Hurricanes, do the Pens finally, I guess, make a statement here, beating the top team in your division, exercising some demons down there in Carolina? Then they come back home and home weekend series coming up here. Or no, both games are at home. Both games are at home this weekend for the Pens. So let me know in the comment section your guys' thoughts on the Pens. We go to the comment section here. Vegas, JG is in here. Welcome, Vegas. Paul Revere was a snitch telling on the British like that. Yeah, well, that's what Evgeny Malkin was. Dan Muse, he couldn't let his head coach say, Sid, maybe going to be a game time decision tonight. He'll be back in there. No sort of gamesmanship Gino was going to allow Dan Muse to do. If I'm Dan Muse, honestly, you have, Sid getting close to coming back. You could have just, said Sid will be a game time decision tonight. We'll see where he is. he could have, he could have made it, kept the Hurricanes guessing. Instead, Gino, overzealous, saying Crosby's back, Crosby back. Honestly, Gino saying it, not the most shocking thing in the world, but also it's not like somebody else wasn't going to spill the beans. Carlson was very vocal today, saying that he was excited to get Sid back. You also had Brian Rust said he's excited to have Sid back, just like how we got Gino back 2 nights ago. So somebody eventually was going to, let it slip that Sid would be in the lineup tonight. Dan Mute given no chance by his players to keep the Hurricanes guessing, say, oh, Sid could play, even though we all knew he would. Concepts in here, what is going on here? Concepts just wrapped up talking about a little bit of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Sidney Crosby getting back into a black and gold jersey here tonight after missing 11 games for the Pens, and it being today 4 weeks to the day of Crosby getting injured over in Italy for the Olympics. That was a quarterfinal game against Czechia. He gets injured, doesn't play at all. The rest of the Olympics, doesn't play for the last 11 games for the Pens. 4 weeks to the day. Sid now returning to the Pens lineup. Back-to-back games. The Pens get Gino and Sid back to the lineup. Gotta love that. 5 of you in here right now on this Wednesday evening. Been a pretty busy week so far. We were live here on Monday, had a ton to talk about on Monday, and we were live last night for what we are going to talk about next. Hate to talk about it, but might as well get it out of the way right now, ladies and gentlemen. Over the past week or so, kind of like what we did for Team USA in the Olympics, we covered Team USA baseball and most of their journey throughout the World Baseball Classic. And last night, Team USA, after beating the Dominican Republic back on Sunday, we were live for that as well in an absolutely thrilling game. They had their chance to, in their 3rd straight World Baseball Classic final appearance straight, they had a chance to win their 2nd ever World Baseball Classic championship, and unfortunately, they could not do it. You see the score right there, 3-2. Last night, Team USA losing to Venezuela, which Venezuela, they were a very tough group to beat. They had a good bit of MLB talent, and felt like Team USA, to me, had a superstar lineup, but Venezuela, they were more built as a team. They had guys who could thrive in various situations, and they played all of their cards the right way. So the United States, they fall to Venezuela 3-2. Those Team USA Olympic hockey jerseys that they wore into Lone Depot Park last night, those did not work. Was cool, though. You had Paul Skeens wearing Quinn Hughes. You also had the 2 Pittsburgh guys on Team USA's baseball team, David Bednar, Mason Miller. They were rocking fellow Pittsburgh area guys who played for the Olympic hockey team, JT Miller and Vincent Trocheck. So thought that was very cool. But Venezuela, they win last night in really dominant fashion, for being honest, over the United States. The score nowhere nearly as close as what it says there. Venezuela, they were leading 2-0 through most of the ball game. Team USA got lucky with a Bryce Harper 8th inning home run to make it 2-2. But then in the top of the 9th, Garrett Whitlock, reliever for Team USA, gives up an RBI double to Venezuela. They hold on and get the win 3-2. They win in their 1st ever World Baseball Classic final appearance for Venezuela. They win their 1st championship as well and take home the $2.5 million in bonus awards. So congratulations to Venezuela. No excuses, really, for the United States whatsoever. And especially coming from the team, the Pittsburgh guys in this tournament. They are the last people to blame for Team USA losing this game. Just go down the line here. Team USA, they had 3 guys representing Pittsburgh on this team. Paul Skeens, of course, with the Pirates, faced the Dominican Republic back on Sunday. still March, so Skeens did not have his most dynamic stuff, but he held maybe the greatest power hitting lineup of all time in check for 4 1/3 innings, only gave up 1 run, was named to the World Baseball Classic all-tournament team, was Skeens. I think he, throughout the tournament, pitched 8 total innings, something like that. Only gave up the 1 run, had, somewhere like 7 or 8 strikeouts. So Skeens, by far, did his job. Last guy you would probably blame for Team USA losing the final. Same thing goes for David Bednar, ex-Pirate, now at the Yankees, Pittsburgh native, came in a handful of games for Team USA. Did he get himself into trouble? Yes, but did he more than clean up the mess that he made on the base pads? Absolutely. Definitely earned himself the nickname the Escape Artist. And then lastly, another Pittsburgh native, Mason Miller, pitches for the San Diego Padres. Miller, in the World Baseball Classic, had 35 pitches over 100 miles an hour. Hitters were 0 for 12 against him with 10 strikeouts. Miller, no hits, no runs, 10 Ks, 35 pitches over 100, 0 for 12 batters were against him. He was averaging 22 and a half strikeouts per 9 innings. But there are some guys to blame, however. And number 1 on the list here, how can you not but put Mark DeRosa, manager for the United States, number 1 on anybody's blame list here. DeRosa, 0 managerial experience except from managing Team USA back in the 2023 WBC. He comes back this year and just makes mind-numbing decision after mind-numbing decision. I mean, how can you explain DeRosa leaving arguably your 2 best hitters for this struggling United States lineup for pretty much the entire tournament? Everybody can see the United States clearly didn't have anything going with the bats, but DeRosa, in his right mind, thought, I'm going to put arguably my 2 hottest hitters on the bench in Gunnar Henderson and Pete Crow Armstrong for the sake of just having a righty on lefty matchup last night. Venezuela, they threw veteran lefty Eduardo Rodriguez. Henderson and Pete Crow Armstrong, both left-handers, both who actually, I think hit left-handers pretty decently. Instead, in place of them, DeRosa puts 2 righties in the lineup. But those 2 righties were Alex Bregman and Byron Buxton. Bregman, in his 3 plate appearances last night, went 0 for 3. And Buxton, heading into last night's game, hitless in the tournament and went hitless again. He literally did not do a damn thing for Team USA in the World Baseball Classic. Henderson and PCA down in favor of Bregman and Buxton. Also, felt like Will Smith last night wasn't going to do anything with the bat for Team USA. I would have pinch hit Cal Raleigh at some point last night probably, but no thought whatsoever of DeRosa doing that. Maybe the most inexcusable thing of them all from DeRosa, at least in the context of last night's ball game. He did say, we just went through Mason Miller's statistics throughout the tournament. Mason Miller, DeRosa said before the game that Miller would be available to pitch in the game if needed. Okay. Tie game, bottom of the ninth, or top of the ninth, excuse me. Tie game for Team USA. Instead, he brings in Garrett Whitlock instead of Mason Miller. Miller still out there sitting in the bullpen, sucking on sunflower seeds. But we bring in Garrett Whitlock, and what happens? He gets hit around. Venezuela goes ahead, and it's the game-winning run. The most dominant relief pitcher in this tournament, maybe even in all of baseball, left sitting on his ass when he could have been in there sending things to the bottom of the ninth tied. Insane incompetence from Mark DeRosa. He, by no means, should be brought back for Team USA back in the Olympics, should, he be in consideration for that, or the next World Baseball Classic. So, absolutely terrible was DeRosa. Same thing goes for some other guys in the Team USA lineup. I mean, You want to go through 1 through 9? We mentioned Bregman and Buxton doing Jack, you know what. Aaron Judge, horrendous. No hits, 0 for 4 in last night's elimination game, in last night's championship game. In elimination games, this WBC Judge went 2 for 11, struck out 6 times. Awesome there from Captain America. Kyle Schwarber can't do a damn thing. He sucked downright, aside from hitting a home run against the Sisters of the Poor, which was Great Britain. Besides that, Schwarber didn't do a damn thing. Bryce Harper, yeah, he hit the game-tying home run in the bottom of the 8th. Cool. It'll probably be one of the most legendary home runs that gets forgotten by history. But besides that home run, it's not like he lit the world on fire this WBC, and you can go on and on and on. Overall, Team USA's offense, their last 13 innings, you go back to around the midway point of that Dominican game and go forward from the second half of that Dominican game all the way through last night's championship game. Team USA, 3 for 41, an .073 batting average with 17 strikeouts. A lineup that consists of bona fide future Hall of Famers, Harper, Judge, Bobby Witt Jr., Cal Raleigh, probably. You can probably, highlight 4 to 5 future Hall of Famers in Team USA's lineup. That's not including the pitchers. Oh, by the way, the pitchers, no blame whatsoever for most of those guys. Skeens especially. Nolan McLean, I actually thought he did decent last night, thinking about what he did to keep Venezuela's lineup in check. The bullpen, aside from that blow-up from Garrett Whitlock, they were pretty good. Tarek Skubal, that's a different conversation. Would have been really, really nice. Skubal had you, pitched last night instead of just, pitch one half of a game and then sit on your ass the rest of the tourney. But aside from the pitchers, the offense for Team USA, future Hall of Famers, 4 or 5 of them you can see, not including, some Hall of Fame pitchers, Skeens, Skubal, to name a few. Just horrendous output, losing to Venezuela the way they did and getting to the championship game the way they did. Really all tournament long except for Brazil, which who didn't kick Brazil's ass. Team USA, the offense, non-existent throughout the tournament. So that puts an end to, Team USA baseball coverage, puts an end to international competition coverage here on the channel for the next little while as well. It was fun covering Team USA hockey throughout the Olympics. Not as fun, but still, I liked it a little bit covering Team USA baseball. Now we're back to our regularly scheduled coverage programming here on the channel, that being the Pittsburgh Pirates. Thank God that we aren't going to need to talk about spring training for that much longer. They've got less than a week of spring training left, and then a week from tomorrow will be opening day against the New York Mets. Paul Skeens will certainly take the mound in that one. On to the Bucks and what they did over the past 2 days for spring training. You had Gregory Soto, O'Neal Cruz, Dennis Santana. They all returned to the team yesterday following Dominican Republic elimination from the WBC. Cruz was in the lineup yesterday for the Bucks, as were most of the starters, and didn't matter really who played yesterday for the Bucks because they got shellacked by the Houston Astros 10-2. Mitch Keller, who started for the Bucks yesterday, making another spring training start. He actually got blown out of the water by the Astros yesterday. 4 innings pitched, gave up 4 hits, 6 runs, all of them earned, walked 4 batters, struck out 6 batters as well, gave up 2 home runs. Location nowhere near what it should be here. Same thing continued for reliever Noah Murdoch, as the Astros ended up making it an 8-1 lead off of him. So final score 10-2 yesterday. Thankfully, this is spring training and games don't count because that was ugly yesterday. Listening to it, thank God we couldn't see it. Same thing goes for tonight as well. Cannot watch the game. The Bucks actually, I have no idea what the score is right now. First pitch in their spring training game today against the Detroit Tigers. First pitch was just 15 minutes ago. Cruz, Brandon Lau, Reynolds, Ozuna, Horwitz, Nick York, Tyler Callahan, Joey Bart, and Connor Griffin is the lineup in the game here tonight. Let me go to MLB real quick, see if we have any update 15 minutes into the game. I doubt anything has, anything outstanding has gone on to this point. Let's go here. Tigers and Pirates. It is in the bottom of the first inning, the game going on right now. This will load here. Game is in the bottom of the first inning. You had the Tigers bring 5 guys up to the plate in the top of the first. A strikeout, a hit by pitch, a strikeout again, a single, and a strikeout for Braxton Ashcraft. So 3 strikeouts in the top of the first for him. Right now, in the bottom of the first, O'Neal Cruz, he struck out swinging. Brandon Lau walked, and Marcell Ozuna, he just grounded into a force out. So Ozuna's on, or no, it's 3 outs. Excuse me, Brian Reynolds, he struck out before Ozuna batted. So looks like nothing at the end of one for the Pirates. But, hey, at least we'll have, real evaluations to make for these games coming up here in a few days. To the comment section we go again. 5 of you still hanging around right here. Judge and Schwarber could not hit the broadside of a barn last night. Nope. And they were, especially worse. They got, most of the spotlight because they're the 3-4 hitters in the lineup. But you could say that for 8 out of the 9 guys in the lineup last night for the United States. Just think about it. You look at that roster for the United States as the tournament begins. And by the end of it, you'd be saying the only guys that could hit worth a damn for Team USA was a 20-year-old Roman Anthony who didn't even make the initial WBC roster, Bryce Terang, who was, just going to be viewed as a depth guy for this team because you thought for sure that both Bobby Witt Jr. and Gunnar Henderson will be starting over Terang. And then also another, half-decent hitter was I said what? Terang, Anthony, and Gunnar Henderson himself. Dude only led the WBC team in OPS 429. It's not like he's some Joe Blow who lucked into a couple of hits. No, he was actually, a dominant presence up there at the plate. Henderson, Terang, and Anthony. The only guys that could produce in a lineup that had Harper, Raleigh, Schwarber, Judge, Bregman, Buxton, Bobby Witt Jr. He was like somewhere in the middle where he didn't, downright suck with the bat, but he certainly didn't help as much as he should have. So just terrible. And it all starts at the top with the manager here. Lineup like that, anybody could manage that lineup to the finals. But, most people, except for Mark DeRosa, could have gotten him to win. All right, ladies and gentlemen, going to get into the extra Pittsburgh sports news of the day, which is filled with Pittsburgh Steelers talk here tonight. I bet all of you are itching at the bit to talk about that. Back to the Twitter timeline real quick. One last thing on the Pirates before we move on. The Pirates did make some more roster moves to trim down their training camp roster after yesterday's game and before today's game. Reliever Noah Murdoch, who, had similar success to Mitch Keller in yesterday's game, he got sent to minor league camp. Also today, the Bucks moving a handful of guys. Left-hander Evan Sisk, option to AAA Indianapolis. Bo Burrows, Michael Darrell Hicks, Noah Davis, all those guys, right-handed pitchers, and catcher Sean Ross, they were reassigned to minor league camp. So that now leaves just 2 guys on the major league camp roster that do not have roster spots currently, that being Alika Williams and Connor Griffin. Imagine telling someone, hey, there's a battle for the maybe the final, utility man infield spot. That battle is going to be between Connor Griffin, only the most hyped up prospect in baseball since Mike Trout, and Alika Williams, who is DFA'd over the offseason. I mean, yeah, I love me Alika Williams, but was not going to peg him as being in any sort of competition with Connor Griffin. I mean, hey, hopefully Alika does well, but man, really want to see Griffin. You're picking between two can't hate him characters right there. That's hilarious. Also, pitchers for the next little bit. I think this will wrap up spring training for the Bucks. Probable starters for their next and last 4 games of spring training. Cam Sanders, he will throw tomorrow against the Baltimore Orioles. Paul Skeens will make his final spring training start on Friday before he pitches then in the season opener against the Mets. Saturday, still to be determined who pitches in that game for the Bucks. If I had to guess, starting Skeens on Friday, Mitch Keller then throws on on Sunday this weekend. That will be the final spring training game, I believe. Have to think that Skeens throwing Friday, Keller throwing Sunday. That Skeens is going to be the first guy in the rotation pitching against the Mets. Then Keller will face the Mets in the final game of that series. Maybe you're looking at a Bubba Chandler or maybe a Braxton Ashcraft on that Saturday. They'll follow Skeens after the season opener on Thursday. So we'll see how the rotation all shakes out. Still no addition of a left-handed starter to the lineup or to the rotation. Thought the Bucks would surely add one of those by now. Now let's get into the extra Pittsburgh sports news of the day here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. To football we go. And the draft quickly approaching in the city of Pittsburgh. By the way, Pittsburgh, they are bracing for a ton of people in the Steel City for this draft coming up here next month. I think the projection is around 800,000 people going to all be crammed into downtown Pittsburgh and the North Shore by Acrisure Stadium, where the draft is going to be held. Turns out schools around the Pittsburgh area actually said we're going to go virtual learning days, the Thursday and Friday, for the first 3 rounds of the draft. So the draft quickly approaching, everybody starting to prepare for it more aggressively. That also applies to the Pittsburgh Steelers, because today pro days have, been occurring for colleges. The Steelers sent a whole bunch of their brass, including general manager Omar Khan, head coach Mike McCarthy, defensive coordinator Patrick Graham, and I believe Steelers scout Ike Taylor. The 4 of those gentlemen and more going to one particular college's pro day today. And it might not be the one that you'd be thinking about. Today, Penn State, they have their pro day, but also the University of Georgia. Georgia having their pro day today, and the Steelers all flying down, probably private jet, down to Athens to watch various Georgia Bulldog draft-eligible players perform. And most of these guys here could be the first-round pick or one of the 5 first 2-day picks of the Steelers. You've got C.J. Allen, linebacker for Georgia. Steelers met with him formally at the Combine. Allen is a physical presence there. I think I've even heard people say he is an automatic throw him in there, plug-and-play linebacker who could be, your team's number 1 off-ball linebacker for 10 years. Another guy to look at, Zachariah Branch, wide receiver for the Georgia Bulldogs. True after-the-catch threat. Steelers could probably use one of those guys now that they have 2 Titans at the wide receiver position in DK Metcalf and Michael Pittman Jr. And another top guy at Georgia's pro day today that I would look out for, Dalen Everett, corner for the Bulldogs. He, just like Allen, just like Branch as well, all 3 of these gentlemen, Allen, Branch, and Everett, formal meetings with the Steelers back at the NFL Combine. And Everett here, I believe he's probably the guy that the Steelers are looking at the most. I mean, you bring Patrick Graham, maybe he's looking at C.J. Allen, but I bet you he's also looking at Everett. And you best believe Ike Taylor, still a member of the Steelers, he was watching Everett, seeing what he is all about. Dalen Everett, have some work on him here. Slowly working my way through, position by position, getting to know some players in these drafts. CJ Allen, he is probably going to be a first round pick. I know there's tons of good linebackers coming up in this draft class. You got the two Ohio State guys, Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles, but do not sleep on CJ Allen as a guy who is going to be near the top of the list in terms of middle linebackers in this draft. Allen, some stuff on him so far. Formal meeting with the Steelers. Big body for the Bulldogs. Really not too many flaws to his game. Maybe pass coverage a tiny bit, but Allen, he's definitely a guy that the Steelers are going to look at first round if, say, all the wide receivers they like are off the board, if there's not a defensive lineman or offensive lineman or corner that knocks their socks off. For Dalen Everett here with the Bulldogs, Everett, been there for a little bit, was a national champion with the Bulldogs back in 2024, 6'1", 196. Everett ran a 4.38 blazing speed at the combine. That was the second best 40 among corners at the combine. Two-time third-team All-SEC guy. Had 10 pass breakups last year. Career, 150 tackles, 19 pass breakups, 5 interceptions. Good production there for the Bulldogs. So keep an eye on Georgia. Have those guys at the forefront of your mind coming up here for the draft in April, because the Steelers, they sent everybody down there to take a look at these guys. Kahn, McCarthy, Graham, the whole crew that, is going to have the strongest opinions on who the Steelers are going to draft when it comes around. They were all down there in Athens. Some other guys Steelers could be looking at. They want to go offensive tackle relatively high in this draft. Move on with Broderick Jones, not give him the chance to bounce back from his neck injury. Monroe Freeland, tackle for the Bulldogs. He's draft eligible. He'd probably be a decent get, whether you get him first round or second round. Kristen Miller, defensive tackle. Oscar Delp, a tight end. Could be a guy that gets looked at as well for tight end depth now that Jonnu Smith and Connor Hayward are gone. But Branch, Allen, Everett, definitely the guys that I would keep tabs on the most here when it comes to when we reach draft day for the Steelers. But yeah, like I said, they went down to Athens. No real big Steeler presence at the Penn State Pro Day here today. You did have area scout for the Steelers there, Jimmy Knoll. Maybe they felt they should only send Knoll, that they already know everything they need to know about the guys at Penn State. Them being local and all, Steelers have had a chance to watch them closer than other teams. Maybe that was the case, but if there was one guy today that the Steelers truly looked at the Penn State Pro Day, Jimmy Knoll here, he was tied to wherever safety Zakee Wheatley was going. Wheatley for Penn State performed pretty well at his Pro Day, 10.4 on the broad jump, 2 inches better than what he did at the combine. Wheatley also talked about, how he learned and grew, learning under Jaquan Brisker and Joey Porter Jr. They were upperclassmen as look there at the Steelers. I'm hoping that's a smokescreen, because if there aren't any, wide receivers that blow my socks off, or a D lineman that I could think really turn into something with the Steelers, I'd probably go guard with Vega Ione in the first round. But Steelers don't think they had too much interest in him in the pro day today, or going back to the combine. I don't think they had a formal meeting with him at all. I'm hoping that's a smokescreen, because he'd be a hell of a get. Moving on from the Steelers at Georgia's pro day today, not really sending all that much personnel to Penn State. Some other things going on with the draft. It is draft season. That is going to take over the majority of our Steeler talk over the next month or so. The Steelers, they continued pre-draft interviews, bringing in guys to their facility for visits. They just had their first local visit a few days ago. Khalil Dinkins, tight end from Penn State. They've had a few defensive backs in there, a few wide receivers. They added to their quarterback and corner pre-visit list today, or yesterday, I should say. Yesterday, quarterback from Miami, Carson Beck, top 30 visit to the Steelers on Tuesday. Beck, I mean, out of all the guys, draft eligible here in this really weak quarterback class, I would be stretching it if I say I have Beck inside my my top 7 or 8 quarterbacks here. I just do not feel that he is the right guy for the Steelers. He is polished. He's 23 years old. He's had tons of college experience. Went to Georgia, then took Miami, or helped take Miami to the national championship game this past year. Good measurables too. 6'5", 233 pounds. Could be an early day 3, maybe a late day 2 pick, but just don't get the hype around him. Played 16 games last year, completed 72.4% of his passes, threw for over 3,800 yards, 30 touchdowns, 12 picks. But still, Beck, when the lights are brightest, fades a little bit. Also got, off the field stuff. Just feels like a guy where football would quickly not become his passion, and feels like, once he hits a wall, not going to be able to get over it. Just for some, cannot get on the Carson Beck bandwagon here. Maybe what some other people out there have. So let me know. Beck also turns 24 in November. That is a very old rookie. Not the oldest, rookie we've seen in these classes. But if someone wants to talk me into Carson Beck to the Steelers, feel free to let me know. He's the second Hurricane, by the way, to get a top 30 visit for the Steelers. They had his left tackle, Markel Bell, who's a massive human being, as their first pre-draft visit. The other pre-draft visit that the Steelers held yesterday. Now, this guy here, I am quickly starting to say, hey, first round pick. If, certain guys go off the board, I'd be cool taking a guess at this guy. If not, maybe in the second round. Corner from San Diego State, Chris Johnson, was a top 30 visit with the Steelers yesterday. Johnson, maybe getting overshadowed a little bit by some other guys in this class because, they're more household names. And also, Johnson here went to a bit smaller school in San Diego State, not a blue blood like a Tennessee or Texas, anything like that, LSU. So you got, Mansour Delane, Malik Muhammad, the 2 corners from Tennessee, some other guys maybe, but Johnson, he is in there somewhere hovering around that, top 10 corner spot, definitely inside the top 15 corners, but he's maybe inside the top 10. Was one of the best corners in college last year, according to PFF, had a 92.4 coverage grade. Passer rating against Johnson was 16.1. That is the second lowest quarterback rating among all of the draft eligible corners in this class. Some more that, I've been learning about Chris Johnson, 21 years old, so he is young and moldable for this new defensive coaching staff. 6 foot even, 193 pounds. Kind of like Dalen Everett, ran a 4.4 flat in the 40. So maybe you want to do some, correlation there. Steelers are going to go with a fast corner in the draft, should they do it. Second team AP All-American 2025, Mountain West Co-Defensive Player of the Year. So Johnson, definitely a dude that, could be an intriguing pick for the Steelers that might fly under the radar for, some analysts out there, but don't doubt it for a second. Should the Steelers be able to get this guy, he will be a highly valuable addition. He's also, Johnson, the only player in college football last year to have 9 or more pass breakups, and also have 100 plus return yards off of interceptions. So, yeah, production is there, even if it is at a small school for Chris Johnson. Maybe he could learn behind Joey Porter Jr. and Jamel Dean. I'd be here all day for that. Some other things going on relating to the draft and the Steelers, besides them going to pro days and pre-draft visits. There has been a couple of mock drafts that have come out over the last 24 hours. Arguably the two top draft analysts in the game, NFL Network's Daniel Jeremiah, ESPN's Mel Kiper Jr. They both each dropped their mock draft 3.0s yesterday, and one I really like, one I necessarily don't like. The one I don't like is coming from the guy that I actually think is the best out of all the draft analysts, and the one that I do like is coming from a dude who's losing his fastball a little bit, I think. And I think we all know who I'm referring to in this case. The one I don't like, Daniel Jeremiah, 21st overall pick. He has tackle from Clemson, Blake Miller, going to the Steelers. Now, going to be honest, got to do a little bit more work on the offensive line for this upcoming draft class, but Blake Miller, I can probably guarantee you right now, he is not inside my top, 3 tackles in this draft class. And according to Jeremiah's mock draft rate here, he has Blake Miller going ahead of Caden Proctor, who I have higher, Caleb Lomu from Utah, who I have higher, and also the guard that we just mentioned a little bit ago, Olavega Ione. Ione, going the next pick right after the Steelers take Miller in this mock, 22 to the Chargers. Also another guard that went after this. I think guard very much a bigger need than tackle for the Steelers as of right now. Chase Bisontis from Texas A&M, who the Steelers met with at the Combine. Jeremiah doesn't have the Steelers taking him either, so definitely some questionable things here for Jeremiah. His mock draft here, the first little bit of the draft isn't really all that bad. I mean, he does have Mekhi Lemon going off the board, Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate, the 3 wide receivers who I truly love in this draft. He's got 2 additional wide receivers on top of it. Omar Cooper, KC Conception gone. But having Blake Miller to the Steelers go to Pittsburgh instead of Ione, Proctor. The Steelers truly want to go safety, go hog wild on that position. Manuel McNeil Warren, he was available. He had the Steelers passing. Jadarian Price, running back. Steelers don't need a running back. He was there. Colton Hood, a corner. He was there. Also, looking here, think Denzel Boston was available. He has Boston sliding all the way out of the first round. Probably some other few guys I'd take over Miller in that spot too, but had Miller go into the Steelers. On to Mel Kiper's, though. Kiper's, I didn't love, but I liked it. And the reason why he has Vega Ione going to the Steelers at 21, but all around, both just in front of the Steelers and right after the Steelers, some guys that I put in the conversation to take over Ione. Start at wide receiver. Still would love the Steelers to triple dip at wide receiver. Yes, they added Michael Pittman, but it doesn't mean you can't get a young guy that can learn instead of, just being thrown into the fire. Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, both gone by pick 11 in this draft. But at pick 21, he has the Steelers taking Vega Ione, having Mekhi Lemon in the conversation for my most favorite wide receiver in this draft class. Mel Kiper has the Steelers passing on Lemon. He falls down 2 spots, and he goes to the Cleveland Browns at pick 24. I don't know about any of you. I know Ione is a damn good guard. You can probably plug and play him, and he'll be a very suitable guard because you don't really have one right now. I could not live with myself if I were the Steelers to have a bona fide top 3 receiver in this draft class fall to the Browns at 24. Just could not do it, if we're being honest here. So before the Steelers pick in Kuiper's mock draft, had C.J. Allen, the linebacker who he talked about today, pair of safeties, McNeil Warren and Thieneman from Oregon, Caden Proctor as well, and the other wide receivers. Those guys all went before the Steelers pick, but Ione, I would love that pick at 21, but I would not love it as much as leaving Mekhi Lemon to slide down the board to the Browns there. So same thing with Casey Concepcion, who I see down there at pick 31 in the draft, going to the Patriots. So no idea what Kuiper and Jeremiah are thinking there. I'm really hoping that their views on the matter change before we get to draft night. One of those guys I did mention, the wide receivers, Denzel Boston. He's one of the last guys, relating to the draft I wanted to talk about today. Boston, Washington, they had their pro day 2 days ago. Boston, per the advice of his agent, did not run a 40-yard dash. He did do a vertical, which was 37.5 inches, bettering his numbers from the combine here. Boston said he has a pre-draft visit coming up with 12 teams. One of those 12 teams is the Steelers. So Boston, who is 6'4", 210, arguably a top 5 receiver in this class, he will be coming to Pittsburgh at some point, or at least is scheduled to right now. But him not running a 40 is a little bit odd when speed is already a question for him. Not running a 40 makes things a little tiny bit suspicious right there. Wrapping up some of the extra Steelers talk for the day here today. Got some free agent and trade stuff to recap. The official cap hits for the various signings the Steelers have had to this point in free agency. They have now been confirmed. Michael Pittman, $8.7 million against the cap for the Steelers with his trade and new extension with the Steelers. Rico Dowdle, $3.75 million against the cap. Jamel Dean, $5.5 million. Sebastian Joseph Day, $3.65 million against the cap. Jaquan Brisker, we knew that one-year deal, $5.5 million against the cap. Couple re-signings. Asante Samuel Jr., $4 million. Cole Holcomb, $1.9 million with his 2-year deal. Darnell Savage, who was added as safety depth, $1.3 million on a 1-year deal. And then the extension for 1 year, sort of a restructuring of the contract as well for Cam Hayward. He got added to his cap hit an additional $5.5 million. So we're looking at around $30 million in cap space the Steelers have spent already. I believe they were somewhere around the $52 million region, or maybe mistaking him for another team. But the Steelers spending a good bit of their free agency money. Imagine, telling a Steeler fan from, 10 years ago that the Steelers were big spenders in free agency for a change. My, oh my, how things have changed with Omar Khan at the helm running the show now. Michael Pittman Jr.'s contract also, we've gotten a step-by-step breakdown of that per Spotrac. Shout out them. 3-year, $59 million with the Steelers. $24 million in guaranteed money. Next year, 2026, we talked about the 8.8 cap hit. It is a $1.3 million salary, a little over $7.5 million in signing bonuses, $24 million in dead cap should Pittman get cut before the year starts, or maybe after the year, not quite sure. Next year, 2027, for Pittman, it'll be a $16 million base salary, $7.5 million signing bonus, $2.5 million in roster bonuses. Steelers would eat a tiny bit over $15 million in dead cap if he gets cut. And then 2028, this is the back door that the Steelers have. It's a $14 million base salary, same signing bonus, same roster bonus, but the dead cap, should Pittman get cut, gets slashed in half. Really, $7.5 million, a little over that in dead cap for the Steelers, should they cut him. So that's the structure of Michael Pittman Jr. I'm hoping that he's really good and gets to see the contract in full here. 28 years old, been a very productive wide receiver throughout his career. Hopefully that changed now that he goes from blue and white to black and gold. Some other moves in free agency over the past few days that kind of affect the Steelers as well. The Browns today, they signed Lions and Jaguars safeties and special teams ace Daniel Thomas. He's 27 years old, 2-year deals the Browns are given to him, so look out for him this upcoming season if you're the black and gold. The Browns did lose another franchise stalwart, though. Remember, their whole entire offensive line was up for free agency. They've seen guys go elsewhere. Jack Conklin get cut. I believe their center might have signed elsewhere. And now Wyatt Teller is gone as well. Wyatt Teller signing a 2-year deal with the Houston Texans, 3-time Pro Bowler. Now going to go protect C.J. Stroud. I like that fit for Wyatt Teller, for being honest here. So the Browns see him walk out the door as well. 2-year, $16 million deal. The Ravens, they made another addition in free agency, the very few that they have made. They replaced Tyler Linderbaum with center from the Indianapolis Colts, Danny Pinter. Going to be honest, Danny Pinter does not scream like he's going to be a long-term, center here for the Ravens. I believe it's, going to be a 1, maybe at most 2-year deal for Pinter. So talk about a downgrade there. You go from one of the best centers in the game in Linderbaum, and instead now you get Danny Pinter, who, going to be honest, I thought Ryan Kelly was still the center of the Colts. But Pinter now to the Ravens. The Eagles, on the other side of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania here, they took, assuming that the Steelers could still be in the wide receiver market in free agency. Another option went off the board. Eagles, they lost Jahan Dotson. They replace him with Hollywood Brown. He goes from the Chiefs to the Eagles. So there's another option off the board for the Steelers if they still are looking to add one. Not quite sure. Also, another addition the Eagles made. They brought back to this neck of the woods Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, now going to be wearing Eagles green and white, traded just a few hours ago from the Panthers to the Eagles. So welcome back to PA, Andy Dalton, except this time you're actually playing here and, not getting your head smashed into the turf by James Harrison and TJ Watt here. So welcome back, Andy Dalton. Could that maybe set up for Tanner McKee's departure? The Eagles, they keep, in their fan base, keep hyping up Tanner McKee, who is the backup to Jalen Hurts, like he's going to be a starter somewhere else. Steelers have been kind of linked to Tanner McKee in the past. I believe it was Mike Greenberg or Dane Brugler, something like that. One of those TV analysts for the NFL, they put out a couple months ago saying Nick Herbig getting traded to the Eagles for Tanner McKee. Absolutely hate that idea. But if McKee is, on the cheap and maybe Aaron Rodgers doesn't come back, screw it. We'll take a shot on him, I guess. That was the big trade in the NFL over the past 24 hours that everybody was talking about. Dalton getting traded to the Eagles. Another trade that went down, this one, I have no idea if anybody's talking about. Jalen Waddle got traded. The Miami Dolphins, after really a full year of speculated movement of Jalen Waddle, they finally pulled the trigger on a move yesterday. Jalen Waddle going from sunny all the time Miami to a mile-high, blistering cold Denver. He's going to the Broncos along with a 4th-round pick in this year's draft. The Dolphins, they get 3 picks back in the deal, all in this year's draft in Pittsburgh. Pick number 30 overall, pick number 94, that's a 3rd-round pick, and a 4th-round pick, which is pick number 130. So they get a 1st, a 3rd, and a 4th back for Jalen Waddle and a 4th. So really it's truly a 1 and a 3 that Waddle goes for. Could the Steelers have done, a 1st-round pick and a 3rd-round pick for Jalen Waddle. Yeah, but also Waddle, do I put that much separation between Jalen Waddle as a wide receiver and Michael Pittman? I mean, Waddle's younger. Yeah, I get that, but I'd much rather, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to take the deal of just, swapping day 3 picks for Michael Pittman Jr. rather than giving up 3 picks, one of them being a first for Jalen Waddle. So I'm cool with that trade for the Steelers. I think the Steelers did have a trade in place for Waddle at last year's trade deadline, but the interim GM, whoever that was, can't remember, down there in Miami, he ended up calling the trade off. So the Steelers then pivoted to Adam Thielen and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. How well that turned out. But now we're here. We got Michael Pittman. Jalen Waddle's going west. Still in the AFC, though. But he's going to the other side of the country here for a first-round pick. I'll give Omar Khan an A+ on the Pittman trade. Also, the Dolphins now. Tell me if they're rebuilding. They will now have $165 million of their $301 million. That's the cap floor here. $165 million. Over half of it is going to players no longer with the team. Tua, Tyreek Hill, Waddle, Jalen Ramsey, Minka Fitzpatrick, and several others. The Dolphins are paying in dead money not to play for them. Rebuild. Capital R, a lot of E's, capital B-U-I-L-D, and 100 exclamation marks right after it. Wrapping up the Steelers talk tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Jaquan Brisker, we mentioned him yesterday having his introductory, or 2 days ago, having his introductory press conference with the Steelers. He took number 3. The other guy that the Steelers signed with Brisker over the last week, Sebastian Joseph Day, he ends up keeping the number he had in Tennessee, number 69. Everybody out there goes nice. Former Steeler corner Beanie Bishop. He is with the Saints. Kind of lost track of Beanie Bishop after he left the Steelers. But now he's back in the news cycle, Beanie, because he has been suspended 3 games by the NFL for the 2026 season. Tom Pelissero broke that news. No idea what it is that Beanie Bishop did. Maybe it's a PED, performance-enhancing substance type thing. Maybe it's something, hopefully not anything more sinister off the field. But, Beanie Bishop suspended for 3 games. Have no idea what's going on there. Max Crosby sounding off after the Ravens backed out of the trade for him. This is kind of crazy here. And you want to talk about the Ravens doing their shady BS here. Again, going back into the drama from what happened 2 weeks or so ago, a week or so ago. Max Crosby on his podcast said that the Ravens GM Eric DaCosta and their head coach Jesse Minter, they did not see Crosby whatsoever during the 5-hour visit that Crosby was in Baltimore. He said he didn't see DaCosta or Minter during the 5 hours he was there, and when he finally met with DaCosta, the energy was off. DaCosta then informed him they had concerns about his medicals. Crosby said in his head, quote, "I was thinking in my head, WTF." Crosby then said that his surgeon later called him and told him to listen to what they were saying. And the surgeon said, "They know you had your surgery 9 weeks ago. You'll be back by training camp." So Crosby, just like all of us, blindsided by the Ravens backing out of the trade. You even had Cam Hayward, current Steeler, reach out to Crosby. He said, texted Crosby, did Hayward, saying, "I don't know if you're staying with the Raiders, but if you do, look out for my brother." Of course, Connor Hayward signing a 2-year deal in Vegas. Crosby then replied, he was like, "F those dudes. I'm staying with the Raiders." I was like, all right, I can respect that. So Cam Hayward getting the skinny with Max Crosby right there. Everybody hates the Ravens. Glad to see that is a thing. Imagine the Ravens making the Las Vegas Raiders look like a, perfect organization all of a sudden. But hey, there's Baltimore with you. F the Ravens, Flacco. probably saying in the comment section right now. And the last thing here, this is kind of crazy, national news. The NFL has its first ever condiment partner. And of course, you know what it is. Heinz ketchup, now the official condiment of the National Football League. Does that mean that we can now make it a real possibility that we get the Heinz bottles back on top of the scoreboard at Heinz Field, Acrisure Stadium? I mean, keep the Acrisure Stadium logo there, please, but place just doesn't feel the same without those big ketchup bottles right there. At least we still got the Heinz Red Zone, right? We got half of a bottle hanging outside one of the gates there at Acrisure Stadium. Wrapping up the news here today, just a few extra Pirates and Penguins things here. The Pirates looking more and more, even though he is, along with Alika Williams, the only two non-roster players left in Major League camp, it still feels like Connor Griffin is going to start the year down in AAA, hopefully not AA, because he did a media thing for them a few days ago. But Connor Griffin most likely going to start in AAA. However, according to Robert Murray, excellent baseball insider, apparently an extension with Connor Griffin is still possible before the season starts. The excerpt here from Robert Murray on Griffin, quote, "I'm not rolling out an extension before opening day. If the Pirates get to a number that Griffin likes, signing an extension that would allow him to notch another long-term contract while still in his prime makes plenty of sense. And if he decides to wait at 19 years old, a larger payday surely awaits him. His talent and upside would have no one blaming him for betting on himself to break out." So Murray still thinks there's a possibility of an extension. I guess, at all times there is, but, still hanging on to the words of local reporter Jason Mackey, who covers the Bucks. He said, a few days ago that a Griffin extension unlikely, and it's also highly unlikely he starts the year in the big leagues. Still got a few small details of his game to work on. So Griffin, we'll see where things play out with him. Sort of bouncing all over here with the Pirates. Extra news: you got Venezuela. They won the World Baseball Classic. Before that, Venezuela in the semifinals, they did eliminate my favorite Pittsburgh Pirate, who is managing Team Italy, Francisco Cervelli, ending their Cinderella run. Also, Jack Sawinski for the LA Dodgers hit his second home run with the Dodgers in 3 games for them. This most recent one from Sawinski, 467 feet. So looks like the Dodgers, yay, they're going to untap the potential of Jack Sawinski that the Bucks couldn't do. Apparently, there's a few weird promotional items coming up for the Pirates. There's a Paul Skeens Altoona Curve bobblehead that's going to come out here in April. That is pretty crazy how Skeens, spent, a month in AAA, if that, and he's already got a bobblehead. And also, there's this whole hoist the cone thing going on for the Pirates. Fanatics, or in Nike, apparently put out there a Pirate t-shirt. Below it, it says hoist the cone. What the hell is hoisting the cone? We know hoist the Jolly Roger, but hoist the cone? The hell is that? Nobody knows, but I guess we'll find out here in a short time. And as the Pittsburgh Penguins and Carolina Hurricanes is about to get on here to my right in a moment. Last thing here, extra Pittsburgh sports news for today. Evgeny Malkin, of course, lighting it up for the Pens in his first game back. Also spoke on his future with the Penguins in a potential contract extension, should there be one. He did say that he was in conversation with Kyle Dubas again, and Dubas asked Gino if he wanted to play next season. Malkin answered, according to Gino, with a yes, and Dubas then told Gino, this is coming from Malkin here, don't worry. And then they'd talk again over the summer. So, sounds like Malkin, Dubas, still in contact. Dubas asked him, do you want to play? Gino says yes. Dubas, I love the words, don't worry. Don't worry means, all right, let's, get through the rest of the season here. Focus on what's going on right now, with the season, this playoff push and all that, we'll get a contract done in the offseason. At least, that's my optimistic view on things for right now. So that wraps it up for the extra Pittsburgh sports news tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all, appreciate you all for tuning in here tonight. Wrapping up with a couple of comments here. Carson Beck always looks stoned. Just saying, yeah, definitely type of face, blank face, where the lights are on and nobody's home. That is for sure here. Flacco here. I blame me for the USA loss. The time change has made me tired earlier. Normally go to bed at 9 p.m. to wake up at 3 a.m. passed out during the 5th or 6th inning. That's all right, Flacco. Even your presence, I believe, wasn't going to save USA baseball last night. THP or that Harper home run was epic. But then, yeah, I saw the a picture or a video of the dugout's reaction to the Harper home run. Pretty much everybody immediately jumped the fence in celebrating the Harper home run, except for one guy. That was Paul Skeens. And I believe in Skeens' mind, he was like, we just tied up this ball game. I've seen this story before multiple times with the Pirates. We're going to find a way to blow this. And Skeens, had he been thinking that, turned out to be right. Last few comments here. Sid on the ice. Let's go Pens. Eric Carlson has been playing unreal. Let's get the Canes. We owe them one. It would be awesome after this road trip that looked like it would be the toughest road trip that the Penguins play in a decade. If they can survive it, not only survive but thrive, finishing up with 3 wins on this 5-game road trip, I will take that all day long, all week long, all year long for the Pens. Let's see if they can do it tonight against the Hurricanes. Wrapping up here, last word, F the Ravens from Flacco. That's a good way to end the show right there. So I want to thank you all. Appreciate you tuning in here this evening. On your way out, if you have not done so already, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you never miss a thing here on the channel. Again, like, share, leave a comment, go give the channel a follow at Steel City SR on Facebook, Instagram, and X, and tune back in here hopefully within the next half an hour. I worked on getting SCSR 60 done before we went live here tonight, but I'll settle for a little bit after. So come back here soon. We'll see you back here. We'll see if anything goes on tomorrow. If not, we'll definitely wrap up the show on Friday, wrap up the week here. But in the meantime, go right now, flip on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Let's see these Pittsburgh Penguins go out there and kick ass against the Carolina Hurricanes. That's going to do it. Have a good rest of your Wednesday night, ladies and gentlemen. See you back here when we see you. Peace.